Do you ever notice that after some meetings, especially at someone's house, you return home with a feeling of heaviness? As if you've been drained, used, and left without energy. Or perhaps after a conversation with someone, a lingering, unpleasant taste remains in your mind, as if you've been subtly offended, provoked, or made to feel guilty for no reason. The most insidious part is that such people can seem quite nice and harmless in public. They smile, joke, and behave like everyone else. But as soon as you cross the threshold of their home, they instantly become masters of the situation. In their own space, they feel omnipotent and allow themselves to do things they would never do in public. For a long time, I couldn't understand why this happened. They seemed like ordinary people, just chatting, but then I started to notice a clear pattern. There are certain types of people after interacting with whom you feel worse. And if you want to preserve your peace of mind, your energy, and your self-respect, it's best never to visit such people, even if they insist, even if they are old friends or relatives. Today, I want to share with you who you definitely shouldn't visit, even if they insist on inviting you. My experience comes not from books or stories, but from my own life. And my life, believe me, has been far from easy, with many trials that I'll soon tell you more about. I'm just a regular person like you, and my life's journey has been full of all sorts of situations. Looking back, I'm amazed at how my experiences resonate with the ancient wisdom of philosophers and sages. It's as if life itself led me down the paths they described centuries ago. In this video, I'll share my bitter experiences, for which I paid with my peace of mind, lost time, and even damaged health. But I won't just complain about bad people. Let's explore together how to wisely approach such situations, following the example of ancient sages. These ancient thinkers knew a thing or two about life. They managed to maintain clarity of mind even when everything around them was falling apart. As Marcus Aurelius wrote in his Meditations, remove your opinion about what has happened, and you will remove the complaint itself. Remove the complaint, and you will remove the harm. For me, this was a real revelation. One day I had a big fight with a close friend while visiting him with my wife. He acted very deceitfully, and I was angry for a long time, considering it a betrayal. But then I realized that I had created my own suffering. First, I imagined an ideal image of a friend, and then I was disappointed when the real person didn't match it. The sages weren't wrong when they said, expect the worst from people, and you'll be pleasantly surprised when they act well. At first, I condemned his actions and even got into a fight with him. But then I let the situation go and stopped demanding the impossible. I simply accepted that people can be flawed, and that's no reason to destroy your nerves. Since then, I've been less disappointed and less angry. All right, let's get down to specifics now and talk about the types of people you absolutely should not visit so you don't regret it later. First and foremost, these are people who have betrayed or undermined someone, even if they claimed it was for your sake. Ancient sages taught a person's essence is their destiny. If someone has once stepped over another for their own gain, they are capable of repeating it at any moment. This is pure truth. Sooner or later, history will repeat itself. I had an acquaintance like that. We started our careers together at a successful firm, vacationed together, and shared plans. Then one day, he secretly undermined our mutual friend, with whom we were very close, to take his place. Afterward, he calmly invited me fishing, as if nothing had happened. I naively thought, maybe it's a fluke. Maybe I'm judging him unfairly. So we went fishing, sat, and talked openly. Everything seemed normal. But on Monday, I came to work, and everyone was whispering and looking at me strangely. It turned out that this friend had told everyone I'd spoken badly about the team during our fishing trip. Although I hadn't even thought of such a thing, people believed him. Then came the nitpicking and hostile glances. I tried to justify myself but couldn't take it and quit. A month later, I learned that this guy had taken my position, a more profitable one, of course, which, as I now understand, he had long coveted. That's when I realized the wisdom of the ancients. The sages warned, a traitor first betrays himself and then others. A person who steps over others has long lost their true essence. If you give them a second chance, you're simply next on their list. Marcus Aurelius directly stated, if someone acts deceitfully, that is their internal illness, not yours. But there's an important lesson. We choose who we let close, and if we ignore clear warning signs, we will, of course, pay the price. Now, I immediately recognize such people. They quickly offer friendship, love to gossip about others in secret, and always have an excuse for their unpleasant actions. Marcus Aurelius, for example, wrote, "When someone's actions bother you, immediately ask yourself, what beliefs led them to act that way?" Traders genuinely believe that the end justifies the means, and if you believe them, you'll become their next victim. The second type of people you should never drop in on, even for a minute, are those who constantly tell you how to live your life. The very ones who know how you should sit, what you should eat, what to talk about, and generally how you should live. You married the wrong person, find a normal one. You're working in the wrong place, you don't respect yourself. Or you're living life all wrong, go buy some decent clothes. Sound familiar, right? The sages called such people domestic tyrants. One of them, Epictetus, said, "Freedom begins with understanding a simple truth. Some things are within our control and some are not. If someone tries to control your life, that's no longer friendship, it's oppression." I had a friend like that. I went to visit him once, and within an hour, I felt like I was being interrogated. "Drink this, not that. Don't laugh so loudly. What were you even thinking when you bought those pants?" He spoke as if I weren't an adult, but a clueless child, and I left his house feeling as though a bucket of dirt had been dumped on me. After that evening, I understood two important things that the sages wrote about. These eternal commanders violate a core principle. Only control what depends on you. Controlling their own lives isn't enough for them. They meddle in yours. And that's a clear sign of inner weakness. Such communication will definitely destroy you. If not today, then next time. As Marcus Aurelius said, if someone can make you feel humiliated, it means you've given them that power. After that, I stopped visiting this friend. And you know what? He didn't even notice. Because such people don't actually need you. They need someone they can control. The third type of people you should avoid visiting and even knocking on their door are the gossips. These are the ones who gleefully discuss every neighbor, colleague, and mutual acquaintance behind their backs. And if you think this doesn't apply to you, you're mistaken. As the sages asserted, whoever speaks ill of others in your presence will speak ill of you in others' presence. I had an acquaintance named Sasha, with whom I worked and was quite friendly. One day he invited me to his house for friendly chats, as he put it. We sat, drank tea, and suddenly he started, "Do you know that our friend Seryoja is running away from his wife for another woman, and she's even 7 years older than him? And imagine our accountant left her husband for a neighbor and abandoned 2 children." Then he said, "I've only lived in this apartment for 6 months, and I hear what the neighbors are talking about all the time. It turns out the neighbor next door is a loser, doesn't earn much, and his wife constantly yells at him that he's a bad husband. How can one be like that?" At that moment, I felt very uncomfortable. I tried to change the subject, but he continued with such enthusiasm, as if it wasn't a conversation but a talk show. Eventually, I got tired of it all and just yelled, "What difference does it make how anyone lives? Everyone has their own life. And you, look at yours. Is everything perfect with you? You're sitting in torn socks, unmarried, your house is messy, and it's all because you're lazy. Why gossip about others?" So I packed up and left. A week later, I found out that rumors had spread at work that I had spoken ill of our boss. The source, of course, was the same Sasha. He really didn't like that I yelled at him and didn't support his gossip. And so, he simply decided to get revenge on me without considering that his revenge could ruin my entire life. Anyway, I'm sure now I've become the main character of his daily gossip. My reputation was ruined. The boss called me into his office and fired me without any discussion. He wouldn't even listen. Why should you absolutely not visit such gossipy people? Firstly, you become an accomplice. One of the sages warned, if you don't want to be gossiped about, the first rule, don't participate in it. Even if you just remain silent at a gossip's house, your presence already gives him the green light. Secondly, it's a trap for your reputation. Marcus Aurelius wrote, "Whatever may be said of you, it does not make you worse or better." But in reality, especially in small towns, gossip destroys trust. and rebuilding it is 100 times harder. Thirdly, gossips create a toxic atmosphere. The sages taught to surround yourself with those who make you better. A gossip, like a swamp, gradually drags you into the mud. First you listen, then you nod, and then you don't even notice how you start gossiping about someone yourself. Fourthly, you never know what a gossip is capable of if you suddenly dare to tell them to shut up and not discuss other people's private lives. Personally, after the incident with Sasha, I developed one simple rule. As soon as the conversation starts to involve gossiping about absent people, I gather my things and politely leave. I don't justify myself. I don't preach morals. I just say, oops, I forgot. I need to run somewhere now, or come up with something else depending on the situation. As the sages said, the best victory is to avoid the battle. The next type of people whose homes you should give a wide berth are those who can't just have a normal conversation as equals. They simply have to prove to you that they know everything better than you, about movies, politics, even how to properly fry potatoes. Only they know the one correct way, and your version is always wrong, and you don't understand anything about life at all. I once had a new friend like that. We met and somehow immediately became friends. One time, he invited me over for dinner. I thought, okay, I'll go. We'll just chat. But after only 10 minutes, he was explaining to me why my views on life were wrong. I said, I like the movie Brigada, and he immediately retorted, you just don't understand cinema. It's trash. I told him about the wallpaper I'd recently put up and the shades I'd chosen. And he told me, you put up the wallpaper wrong, even though he'd never done it himself and didn't even know what it was. After another visit to his place, I felt like a complete nobody, as if everything I did was a mistake. And the worst part was, he genuinely believed he was helping. I decided I wouldn't go to his place anymore and tried to meet him less often. The whole problem is that these know-it-alls steal your self-confidence. One of the sages, Epictetus, said, if a person doesn't respect your opinion, they don't respect you. Every wise piece of advice from them is a hidden message. You're dumber than I am. Besides, it seems to me that it's a one-sided game. A real conversation is an exchange, not a monologue. But these know-it-alls only take your attention, time, and energy, giving nothing in return. They create a toxic atmosphere. Marcus Aurelius wrote, if you want to be happy, surround yourself with those who make you better. These people, however, only make you more insecure. What did I do to minimize the harm from such people in my life? Now I immediately cut off such conversations. I don't argue, I just say, well, that's an interesting perspective, and change the subject. And if they continue, I politely leave. As the sages said, it's better to leave in silence than to let another steal your peace. The fifth type, perhaps the most insidious, are the envious. Simply put, those who can't genuinely be happy for your success. Instead, they have venomous phrases ready. Yes, you just got lucky. Who needs you with that job? When I was your age, in the Netherlands, this often hides under the guise of concern, like, why are you offended? I'm just worried about you. Life taught me a rather painful lesson after meeting such a person. An old acquaintance of mine, whose name I don't even want to utter, invited me to celebrate my promotion at work. It seemed nice, right? But all evening he kept saying, well, the boss must be stupid to have promoted you. They won't keep you in that position for long. If I were you, I wouldn't have gotten promoted. Eventually, I couldn't take it anymore, and we got into a fight. But a week later, we somehow reconciled, and I went back to his place for a cup of coffee. And when I told him I had bought a car yesterday, he rejoiced in his own way and retorted, well, now you'll definitely be a debt slave. And when I started explaining that I bought it without a loan, I noticed he didn't want to listen and kept putting me down. Finally, he abruptly said, okay, I have a lot of things to do. We've had our coffee, let's go our separate ways. Then I understood that he had lost. He had truly lost. But the worst part is that, with every conversation with him, I started catching myself believing his words, as if I really didn't deserve success. That's the power of corrosive envy. And if things hadn't turned out the way they did, it could have morally broken me. These people can't stand your success, especially when you're in their home. Because in their own home, they feel like the hosts and start exercising their power by putting everyone down. since they're on their own territory. And in their own home, they always have to be the winners. The sages said, envy is an admission of one's own failure. Your achievements are for them like a mirror in which their own imperfections are visible. When you talk to them, you unwittingly lose energy in a meaningless struggle. Epictetus taught, don't explain to someone who doesn't want to hear. Every attempt to prove something to such a person is wasted energy, but what's most dangerous is that they create the illusion of friendship. Marcus Aurelius warned, false friendship is worse than open hostility. These people keep you close only to confirm their superiority. After that incident, I learned one rule. If I feel humiliated after a meeting, it's the last meeting. No arguments, no explanations, just a quiet removal from my life. As the sages said, sometimes the bravest thing is simply to walk away. But this acquaintance just couldn't come to terms with his defeat. He couldn't digest that I had stopped seeing him. Apparently, for him, it was a matter of principle to prove he was better. And you know what he did? A few months after our last encounter, he somehow got in touch with my then-girlfriend, started texting her just to chat. Then came his signature caring innuendos. Oh, does your boyfriend even pay attention to you? You deserve more. But I found out about it too late. One day she told me, you know, I don't think I can be with you anymore. Your friend opened my eyes to a lot of things, and a week later, I saw their pictures together on social media. He had a satisfied look on his face, and she was with his gifts. In short, he cunningly and deceitfully approached my now ex-girlfriend and stole her from me. That's when I finally understood. You shouldn't just avoid visiting such people. You shouldn't have anything to do with them at all, because for them, life is an endless game of who conquers whom. And if you've won something, a job, a car, success, they will definitely find a way to hit you where it hurts most, even if it means deceitfully exploiting your trust. The sixth type of people in our video, these are the very do-gooders for whom no personal boundaries exist. These are the ones who, in their own home, really love to meddle in other people's lives. And you know, this is what annoys me the most in this life. When people interfere in your life as if it were their property, and they do it with such an air, as if they're doing you a favor. Here's a true story from my life. I once went to visit my Aunt Rosa. You probably know I've talked about her in some of my videos. I hadn't seen her in a very long time, but I decided to visit. And no sooner had I sat down to drink tea than it started immediately. You're already 29. Why aren't you married yet? Maybe you're abnormal. I, of course, tried to joke. Auntie, for now, I'm looking for the ideal one, just like you. But suddenly I realized she was serious. And then she said, come on, Svetlana's son from the 5th floor is already having his 3rd child. And you? And you know when I just got up and left her house? At the moment, she declared, you just haven't met a normal woman. You just bring home some strays from under the fence. That's why you haven't succeeded yet. Can you imagine? In the end, I left her alone in the kitchen with her own dumplings. Tasty ones, by the way. It was a shame, of course, but what could I do? I packed up and walked out past the fence, just to spite her. After that incident, I understood the most important thing. Such people are not just tactless, they are like emotional vampires. The more you justify yourself, the more they interfere. First, they ask about your personal life, then about your salary, then even about how you use the toilet. Now I have an ironclad rule. The first tactless question, I politely ignore it. The second, I abruptly change the subject. The third, I just get up and leave. No offense, no scenes. I just got up and left. Because no one has the right to interrogate me, even if it's a relative. Oh, now comes the most painful category. A house to avoid by several kilometers. These are our exes, yes. Those very ones with whom you stayed friends. Except there's zero friendship there. Either someone still has hope, or they're seeking revenge, or they simply can't let go. I'll prove it now with an example of a brilliant trap. First, the classic. We meet just to talk with an ex. She suddenly wants to reconcile with me again, and as a result, after a month, my psyche is broken again. I'll tell you about that now. Coincidence? I don't think so. And here's a masterpiece of deceit. As if we had reconciled, my ex invited me over to help her hang a curtain rod. And I, fool that I was, thought, well, it's just helping out. We're human. We broke up amicably. We reconciled. I came, took the drill, and suddenly her current husband walked in. What's more, she had deliberately arranged for him to be there at that exact time. Naturally, he started yelling. I didn't understand. She played the victim. In short, a fight, a slam door, and I couldn't recover for another month. Plus, I had to pay for my own dental work to fix my teeth after the fight. That's when I remembered Marcus Aurelius's words. That which does not make you better makes you worse. These friendly meetings with exes are like playing Russian roulette. They'll either spit on you or shoot your psyche, and more often than not, both at the same time. Now, my rules are strict. No friendship with exes, only business correspondence if it concerns alimony or shared custody. No help with renovations moving. Let the new guy hang the curtain rods. No meetings, just to talk. That's always a lie. Remember, an ex is like a healing wound. It itches and seems like you can scratch it. But then there's blood, pain, and a lifelong scar again, and in the worst case, an infection. But this acquaintance just couldn't come to terms with his defeat. He couldn't digest that I had stopped seeing him. Apparently for him, it was a matter of principle to prove he was better. And you know what he did? A few months after our last encounter, he somehow got in touch with my then-girlfriend, started texting her just to chat. Then came his signature caring innuendos. Oh, does your boyfriend even pay attention to you? You deserve more. But I found out about it too late. One day she told me, you know, I don't think I can be with you anymore. Your friend opened my eyes to a lot of things. And a week later, I saw their pictures together on social media. He had a satisfied look on his face, and she was with his gifts. In short, he cunningly and deceitfully approached my now ex-girlfriend and stole her from me. That's when I finally understood. You shouldn't just avoid visiting such people. You shouldn't have anything to do with them at all, because for them, life is an endless game of who conquers whom. And if you've won something, a job, a car, success, they will definitely find a way to hit you where it hurts most, even if it means deceitfully exploiting your trust. Another type of person you shouldn't even go near are those who have turned complaining into an Olympic sport. They are also known as perpetual grumblers. Their favorite phrase is, everything is bad. The country is a nightmare. People are awful. After 5 minutes in their company, you either want to drink or scream or just lie down and wish it would all suddenly end. I had a childhood friend like that. Every meeting with him started the same way. So, how's life? Bad, he'd say, even without greeting me. I naively tried to save him, encouraged him, offered solutions, even looked for a job for him. But one day, after 3 hours of listening to how everyone around him was, I caught myself thinking, I feel depressed and helpless myself now. And then I remembered Marcus Aurelius's words, if something bothers you, change it. If you can't change it, change your attitude. If you can't even do that, then why complain? And then I understood. My friend doesn't want solutions. He enjoys the role of a victim of the universe. And I'm just a free psychologist who also brings treats. I believe you shouldn't visit them for several reasons. They steal your energy. Like a sponge, they absorb positivity and squeeze out black slime in return. After such meetings, you feel drained. It's contagious. Complaining is like yawning. After an hour, you start to think that everything is bad yourself, even though things were fine before the meeting. But the worst part is that they will never change. The sages said, and they were right, misery loves company. These people will drag you down because it's cold at the bottom alone. Personally, I've developed one simple and effective system for myself. The first 5 minutes of complaining, I try to change the subject. If that doesn't help, I say directly, I can't help you if you don't want to change anything. When he starts again, I simply leave. As Epictetus said, you cannot help someone who does not see the problem in themselves. All in all, if we consider all the people on this list, I no longer visit any of them. And you know what? My life has become calmer, happier, and freer. If you enjoyed this video, I'm very glad. See you in the next videos on self-discovery, relationship psychology, and life wisdom. All the wisdom of life, especially for you. Take care of yourself.